Aloha, it's wonderful seeing you again today. Let's do a quick tune, make sure our high G is high G in it up. So I get that G as close as I can. Since it's the thinnest string is usually the last one that's gonna go out of tune, but it's always the first one you really wanna check. Make sure it's nice and tight. If you ever have a problem with the string slipping, there is generally a little screwdriver screw right here that if you hold the tuning peg and tighten that, it will actually lock in place a little bit much. You just don't want to overdo it because sometimes you go too far and you strip the screw. Just be careful, you can feel the tension. Next one should be D, of course. And a little sharp. Next one's a G. That one should be an octave away from your high G, yeah? And then a B, and then a D. That is the octave of your other D. A great way to see this is when you go from your D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, your 5th fret right here is going to be the same as the next string open. So this G is how you fine tune. You play it at the 5th fret, normally how much pressure you're going to put down on it. And then you reach around and you fine tune that G up to it. Next thing happens for the, you go to the G string and you play on the G string at the 4th fret. And that gives you your B. Once again, play it at the 4th and open. And then fine tune it. And then lastly on the B string, at the 3rd fret, that 3rd fret is the same note, a D, B, C, C sharp, D, as your open tune. After all said and done, should make a pretty G major sound. Alrighty, so the chords review from last week, we would have an open G. When we have that open G, I think it's time to just start showing the other chord structures, because when we get into this, these patterns are just movable. Once you see this form, it will go all the way through. So I'm just gonna give you all of them. Here's our G major open. When we have a G major at the 3rd fret, our first finger is gonna be on the B string, second finger is gonna be on the G string, and third finger is gonna be on the G string. Pinky is gonna make a bookend all the way up top on that D string, and when we play them all together, it gives us a G major. We can also include that high 5th string, because G is in the chord of G. Hallelujah. So, when we go from this G, of course, if we go up, G goes to a G sharp. But as you know, G and a G sharp do not work together. So what happens is you can take that 3rd finger and play the 5th string and the 4th string together. And what happens is that double bar is going to make your 5th apart. I hope that makes sense. I'll reiterate that next week. So here's our G. Inevitably, if I take that G and I put it up here, I get G up top, which is almost like the one we played right here, except I'm going to switch these 2 fingers and move it all the way up to my first finger being on the 7th fret. That gives us our 3rd inversion. G major, G major, G major. And then our last one's going to be all the way up top, just bar on the 12th fret, same as open. All right? Our other chord that we had last week was C major. We're going to be playing our first finger on the B string to give us the C. We're going to be playing our second finger on the D string to give us our E. And then all the way up top for another E. That open G right here is going to give us our exposure for our major or our minor. So right here, this is our C. If we move this one finger right here, it becomes a E major. So the new chord of the day is going to be that E major. You can tell the E minor and the E major by putting on that G, G sharp, gives us a E, B, and then a G is the minor. The G sharp makes the major. So when you're doing your rolls backwards and forwards this week, try and use all the new chords. put them together for a chord sequence if you want. Otherwise, the G major and the E minor work well together because they're relative. You can either go to your C major, which works beautifully after there, and then here's our new chord for the day as well, C minor. So let's take a C major. C major is going to have our fingers on the fretboards at the first, second, and second, using our first finger on the B string for the C. Of course, having the E right here and the E up top. When we do this, if we take this whole structure, keep the first finger there, but we're going to be moving our fingers around to cover that note. Meaning, I'm going to drop this finger all the way down, and then I can put this finger to here and this finger to here. Meaning, second finger plays the lowest string, the fourth string. Your G string is going to be played, your B string is going to be played by the third finger, and then your D string is going to be played by the pinky to give you C minor. In opposition to C major, C minor, you can do both fingerings. You can use the first three fingers, or you can use the last three fingers. I prefer the secondary form. You also can be a champ, a real hoss, and play the first note and then bar the last two like this. You can either do it up top here, or you can take your finger here and wrap your thumb around to get that low note. That's not preferred because that's not standard method. That is a slack way to play it. However, both methods work. So, knowing that this is your C minor and this is your C minor, if we use our roll from yesterday, or from the first week, which is a forward roll, we would have our B string with our thumb, our D string with our pointer finger, and then our high G with our thumb. That keeps going with a boom, bum, doom, boom, bum, boom, boom, bum, thumb, pointer, boom, bum, bum, boom, thumb, middle, thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle, thumb, middle, thumb, index, middle, thumb, index, middle. So with our new chords, we can do something like now. So on and so forth. Our new chords, C minor, E major, and A major. A major, if open is G, barring the first fret is G sharp, then barring this whole second fret would be A major. You can do that also with our forward roll. The more slow you go, the easier those notes come to complete. So thus far we had the E major, E minor, C major, C minor, G major. We'll go over the G minor next week because it's just a further extension of the C minor that we've already learned. If you can find it on your own, amazing. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G. So you can see this as being that. You could also hear the major out of that second form from which I showed you earlier. This moves us on to our next roll. Our next roll is the backwards roll. The backwards roll has a interesting little caveat, which uses our middle and our index finger to switch around the positioning. The best way to start this, I guess, would be to explain that positioning. So what we're going to do is play this in open G. What we're firstly going to have is show the roll itself. The roll itself is going to be a D string with our middle, B string with our pointer, high G with our thumb. It's going to do that twice. Now, rather than plucking the high D here with our middle finger, we're going to take that middle finger and go to the B string, do a one pluck. Our pointer is now going to play that top string, and then our middle finger is going to play that top string again. It essentially gives us this. Really slow. B, D, D, B, D, D, middle, index, middle, middle, index, index. rest, the actual roll part, in combination with the middle, index, thumb, it sounds like this. Middle, index, thumb, middle, index, thumb, middle, index, thumb, middle, index, thumb, middle, index. It does a quick turnaround, which is why it's called the backwards roll. Adding that with, let's say, the G major, to a E minor, to a C major, to a C minor, back to G. That would give us almost all of our new chords. So we'd have E minor, C major, C minor. Once again, the backwards roll. Middle, index, thumb, middle, index, thumb, middle on the B, index on the D, middle on the D again, thusly starting the roll over again. Make sure you go slow with this, and I'll hold it up front really close here to see if we can get in nice and tight. See how that feels like I'm doing a little walk right there? It's exactly what it's supposed to feel like. Middle, index, middle, midnight. See how I'm just doing the end of the roll? Maybe that's a great idea to get the middle finger, index, middle finger, index, middle. Go with those. And here's what I gotta say. Do not combine your forward roll and your backwards roll in the same exercise while playing it. Get one down really well, get the other one down really well, and then later we'll put those two together. I really enjoyed seeing you this week. Work on those new chord structures. The A major, the C minor, the E major, and if you want to, see this other G major. What we're doing is we're taking this C major, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, and this is how we find E major, or your chord of the day, E major. So all these ways to find it are acceptable. When you take this E major and you move it up all the way to here, you get the same structure as this, just in a different form. The intervals have been changed, so you're stacking your chord or your triad with something other than the one. You're stacking it with the 3, putting it up here, or the 5, and then putting it down there. Either way, these all come together and look something like this. Actually see why it's called a backwards roll. you can feel that boom, 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 and it gives just enough time to do that walk up with your middle to your index, plaque that middle, and then put your finger right down. It's almost as if these two are skateboarding or ice skating right on top of these. Dun, dum, bum, dun, dum, bum. So I would suggest doing the middle, index, middle, and just getting used to doing that. Because that is the crucial part of this. And then when we go over the alternating roll like that, it will make more sense why these two need to be the first two that are down pat. So I would say keep working on these, keep working on these, keep working on these. Practice the practicing. It was wonderful seeing you. I'll see you next week. Aloha.